I put an article on Patreon just a few days ago talking a little bit about internal and how that Tai Chi is an internal art. And some of the feedback I got was a bit surprising to me. There were people saying that they not only didn't really understand that Tai Chi was an internal art, or didn't understand what internal meant, but also said that in the beginning of their studies they weren't really that interested, and it took them quite a while for the light bulb to go on, realizing that the art is defined as internal. And so if you're here for general interest in the art, or health benefits, as most people are, or just because Tai Chi has really grabbed your attention somehow, then internal has to be explained, and you have to have a route in your training that will gradually lead you to moving in an internal manner. So internal is easier in person if we're standing and able to work with each other, that is touch each other, maybe push or pull, that kind of thing. It's fairly easy to show the difference between muscular effort and tension and moving very softly but still being able to display great power. And that shows internal power. But what does it feel like in your own body, and how do you get there? Well, I also did an article and a video on Yang 21 Qi Gong exploration. And in that video and article, I hope that I would left enough clues that if you worked out a little bit, you'd be able to feel, at least in your arms, this is the area where we usually feel it first is in the arms, and torso is second. It's a bit difficult, I have to admit, to get a feeling down in the hips and in the legs that you're moving internally, but that's possible. And all it requires is hard work. That hard work, of course, is you investing in your health. So I did talk about three different things in that article, and as I went through the Yang 21 Qi Gong. But there's one additional one that I want to mention, and this is something that you can work on anytime during the day or night, whether you're cooking dinner or watching TV or walking down the street. It really doesn't matter. And this one is not only kind of a test, but if you train it and are able to achieve it, you're on the doorstep of internal. You've made a lot of progress with that. So that one really simple thing that I'm going to add to the three other simple things is breath control. And you don't have to start off thinking that you're going to have to practice yoga or Qigong or all kinds of breath exercises. The very first stage is just, can you open your belly? That is, release the tension here and breathe here. A lot of people really pull in their stomach, they pull in their lower back and their chest breathers, which is really bad for your general health. It not only distorts your body, but by pulling in and tightening all these muscles, you're stopping blood flow, you're stopping Qi flow, and you're damaging internal organs, because release allows function and constriction or tension stops function. A very simple equation. So if you're doing something like Qigong, like what we just did today, you're doing this movement. This movement is right out of 8-section brocade, and in 8-section brocade we just do this movement several times. So there's no set limit. You can do this as few or as many times as you wish. When we're going through 8-section brocade kind of officially, we do it 8 or 9 times, something like that. But you can do it 20 or 30 or 10 or whatever you wish. And the reason I'm mentioning it is that the arm movements are quite simple, and there isn't a lot of pressure on the body. When we're doing the very first one, where we're going up and down and squatting and then rising a little bit, then that creates quite a bit of compression in the body. And you may find it more difficult to control your breath. But on this one, the sinking, and the weight change is fairly slight. So there's not a lot of pressurization. We should, of course, be dropping our shoulders and things like that. But the reason I picked this one is, can you control your breath while you're doing this quite simple exercise. The choreography is just the arm goes up and rotates a little bit, and then it comes down, same pathway, and then rotates a little bit to finish. So when you have two arms doing it, they're desynchronous. One is going up while the other is going down, but it is a fairly simple pattern. So practicing something like that, or if you feel you're making pretty good progress with your Tai Chi forms, and you can go through, say, the first 8 postures as we just finished doing, and it's not a problem. The choreography is now pretty solid. Then switch your focus and go to your breath. So even if your postures suffer a little bit from staying with your breath as you're moving, can you do these movements and continuously release your belly? So we'll make it even simpler. Don't worry about your breath, whether it's sunk or not. Just let go of your belly and let it open. I used to jokingly call that drop the groceries. So rather than carrying and holding everything, just drop and open the belly. Every movement, as you catch yourself tightening and raising your breath, just pause momentarily and loosen and drop your breath, open the belly. Okay. And if you can start doing that, and that becomes habitual, that's one really big step towards you doing it. So I hope that tip resonates with you and that will help you. The next stage, for me at least, is can you make this arm movement happen? It's basically the movement we do in push posture, going back and forth with the elbow continuously heavy, the fingers continuously pulled upwards, and the shoulder continuously sunk. So I'm not talking about lower body at all at this point, although when you're practicing, of course, you need synchronization up or more. But can you just do this movement? Because what I see continuously is people doing this, or doing this, or doing this. So to me that shows that those people are not very well trained, and probably they're not used to the kind of focus that this requires. So if you just isolate this movement or this movement and just work this. So this one we're not really talking about the breath as much right now, although I hope that you can release your belly as you're doing this. Really very little work being done here. The work is focus on dropping the shoulder, dropping the elbow, raising the hair, and that's about it. Now if you can attain that, we're not even talking about power or power or strength or anything like that. This is strictly choreography. If you can attain that and put that into your postures, so it shows up here. Oddly enough, it does show up in wave hands. You can see that I'm not really moving my arm, and it's the same posture. So that simple posture, that's everywhere throughout Tai Chi. This is the same posture again, except we have a hook. The same posture all over the place in the form. Same posture again. So if you can practice this in isolation, just doing this and achieve that, plus learn how to let go of your belly either by practicing something super simple like this, or just picking the postures you're most familiar with and going through. And now you've taken 2 huge steps towards the internal. So for a little bit better understanding of what internal really means is that we gradually get rid of tension in the body, and by tension I'm speaking, of course, of contracted tension. We never want to tighten our bodies anywhere. There's no locking of joints, there's no tightening of muscles. Our muscles may be in use when we're moving, but a muscle that's in use and yet not contracting has a completely different feel to it, and that's what we're talking about. So we first get rid of tension, and then our real goal is that we move from the joints. So obviously we have to release all of the joints or we're locked out. We can't use them when we're doing movements like this, or like this. This should be where the movement is coming from, deep inside the shoulder joint, moving back and forth like that, not like this or like that, which is muscular and very tight and very misaligned and actually damaging to your bone. So same thing here. When we're doing this kind of movement, it's the sinking of the shoulder. Right? That's what's propelling our arm either forward or back. And there's a rotation going on inside my shoulder joint that I'm not going to talk about right now. And all of our postures, when we do this movement, rather than this kind of motion, which is very isolated, that is not a whole body motion at all. Your right arm, for instance, when we're doing word off to the left, the way that it rises from this position is that your shoulder is pulled down through your back. So that again, the movement is here. That's what's bringing your arm up into position. It's not you waving your hands around. And similarly, with this shoulder, it's the sinking of the shoulder this way that brings this arm into position. So that's internal. When you can start moving inside your joints, even a little bit, you have arrived at internal. Now that doesn't mean that's the end of it, because by far it's not the end of it. From the joints to gradually obtain more control, what we do is we go into the support tissue, out into the muscles, and then we connect the various pieces of the body. So in your torso, where your main organs are, what's happening as you're doing that, of course, is that the torso itself, the ribs become flexible, the spine becomes flexible, the back is opening and closing, the chest is opening and closing, and the belly, this is a separate topic altogether, but the belly actually rotates. So with all that going on, what happens is that inside your torso, you start getting a very powerful massage, and as a martial art, and to the point of being able to display strength. What happens is we don't just want the outside of the body coordinated. That's going to be fairly shallow. That's going to mean you're still in your muscles and not as strong as you're not realizing your full potential. When we say organized in the Qi Gong or Taiji manner, what we mean is that the inside and the outside are working together. And this is literal, this is not metaphorical or some kind of fairy story. This is really and truly what we're after. So a couple of hints for you to get there. One of them is, can you control your breathing? The other is, can you be